Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my Asexualise. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, click the great big subscribe button down below and please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live, like now, I'll post a new video. Don't forget to give this video a useful, helpful, insightful in any way, shape or form, or you just want to give this channel some love. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing women are not sexual objects. Neither is any gender. But obviously there's a very strong focus still on women's bodies being used for sexual pleasure, and that's really the main focus, which I've got a lot to say about that. Anyway, if you're new to this channel, if you didn't know who I am Sandra Bellamy. And I am an author and writer, and I've written and published Asexual Perspectives 47 asexual stories. And this is published in 2017. I'm currently wrapping up in the next couple of months my latest book for Asexuals. And I'm also the author of this fibromyalgia self-help handbook, which is how to manage fibromyalgia to have less pain, more energy and feel happier. But these techniques apply to anyone really in life. The majority are transferable to ease pain throughout your life and have bundles more energy. So in today's video then, I'm going to be discussing women as sexual objects. Now how this came about is I am in a number of dating groups, asexual obviously, but I'm also in some dating groups are non-asexual. And there's a guy who I can't obviously show his name, but in one of the groups I'm in, this was the message, yeah. So basically, if you can see that, it says, relationships aren't very complicated. Play with her butt, not her heart. Make his cock hard, not his life. Simple. Right? This is a bloke who wrote this in one of the groups, right? I can't reveal his name, obviously. Haven't revealed other people's, because it's not fair, it's not right, So anyway, yes, so that personally, I mean, this is not an asexual group, right? So they can post what they like. But personally, I really didn't like this post. This relationships aren't very complicated. Play with a butt, not a heart. Make his cock hard, not his life. First of all, I don't like that type of language because I don't think it's very loving. Talking about cock and stuff like that is pretty disgusting language to me, I know people get turned on by stuff like that. I do realise that. I know sexuals can like that type of language. But, obviously I had something to say about this post. I didn't say it uses women as a sexual object. I mean, they have put play with her butt, not her heart, as in don't mess her around. But it's the whole post to me is very, centered around the woman being a sexual object. Because it's like, relationships aren't very complicated. Play with her butt, not her heart. So in other words, be sexual with her. Make his cock hard, not his life. In other words, he just wants a woman to basically do sexual stuff to him and for him to not do any work in order to get to that stage, To me, this is a really bad post. And loads of people liked the post. They thought it was great. They thought it was so wonderful. But to me, it's very much focused around the woman being a sexual object. Touch her butt and for her to make him hard, Excuse the language, but I'm being very blunt tonight, And I just think it's very focused about a woman, like I said, as a sexual object. There's no love in it. And, and when he says not his life, clearly he thinks women make his life hard. Now, if a guy thinks a woman's life, if a guy thinks a woman is making his life hard, he's not the right guy for her. Right? Guys need to put in time, energy and effort into a relationship. They need to be prepared to change and adapt, just like females do. Right? And when guys say, oh, this women make my life difficult, it's because they can't step up to the plate and actually meet the standards of the woman, usually. It's got nothing to do with the woman being a problem. It's got to do with the fact that the guy isn't right for her, right? So anyway, I had something to say about this post, and of course it got some reactions. So I said, if a guy thought I was making his life hard, he wouldn't be a good guy for me to be in a relationship with in the first place. I am not interested in a guy playing with my butt or in me making him hard. That's not love. It actually did get a thumbs up from one person. And it got some like starry eye emoji from another. And I said I always speak my truth. Which I do. I always speak my truth, At the end of the day, to me, that is very focused around the women's body. It seems to me that the guy doesn't want to do any work to actually be in a serious committed relationship. He thinks women make his life difficult. Therefore, it's basically, just let me touch her. That's all I want. I don't want to do any hard work. Well, I can tell you now, relationships are work to make them work. They shouldn't be so much hard work that you're not enjoying the relationship, though. But if you think someone's making your life hard and difficult, they're not the right person for you to be in a relationship with, because there has to be an element of flow. There has to be an element of ease in the relationship for you to feel comfortable around that person. There has to be a degree of, love and care and just chilling and being yourself with the person, There just has to be that element. And if it's not there, that person, whatever gender they are, it's not right for you, And so it's very important to look at posts like this and actually see the deeper meaning behind it. Women should not be used as sexual objects. But, on Facebook dating, for example, it's very much a woman's just there to have sex with the guy. But it's not just thank you for the thumbs up, lots of love to you. It's not just me as an asexual person that has problems, and asexuals that have problems, because I am in dating groups that are predominantly got sexuals in. Hello, Eddie. Nice to see you. Lots of love. Because I am in dating groups that have got predominantly sexuals in them. There's also a lot of women who aren't asexual but still feel like a guy is just after sex. It seems to me that the majority of the world these days, from what I'm gathering from the conversations in these various groups, is that most guys these days are after sex and they don't want commitment. I think that's true of the 21st century. I think a lot more people these days don't like commitment. I think a lot more people are very independent, leading their own lives. I think because lots of guys are interested in sex, a lot of women who are quality women just get put off by that. Even though, there's a woman in one of the groups and she's like, well, I don't want to have sex until I totally trust the person in a serious committed relationship with them, which is the right way to be. Unless you just love having sex for the sake of it. There's some women who do just love having sex, it's not always guys that are that way. But having said that, women shouldn't be just seen as this thing to use for sex and that's it, and shouldn't be objectified in that way. And certainly, like I read out in this post, if a guy thinks a woman is making his life difficult, or women in general, in this case, by the look of it, but yet he's quite happy to touch them and for her to do sexual stuff to him, his mindset is clearly very centred around sex. Centred around sex and using women for sex, basically, because there's no love in there, is there, really? It says don't play with art, play with a butt, but I mean, it's still very sex-focused, right? It could have said something poetic like, treat women like gentle butterflies, hold their wings up and support them, realise their beauty, see their gorgeous colours of life, light them up, be the light that butterfly is to go towards, be that sunshine that the butterfly loves flying in. He could have said something like that, but he didn't. It's all about him touching her and her touching him. Do you know what I'm saying? To me, that post is all about women being a sex object, and the women who actually like that post, they can't see what he's doing. It's not a good guy to be in a relationship with if the guy just thinks, oh, women make my life hard. I mean, how is a woman ever going to get on with that person with that type of attitude? Because it doesn't matter what woman he gets with, he's always going to see women in general as something to kind of fight against, and something that's, oh, I just want to have a break from her. That type of attitude, it's not going to be very pleasant for the woman. So I'm guessing, analysing it, that's probably got an effect on why he's single, and that's my observation. You don't have to agree with it, but I just think it's bad for people to sexualize women's bodies. And when guys' heads center around that, they can't think straight and think how to treat a woman well because they're too focused on the sexual aspect. And they're not wanting to become a better version of themselves. They're not trying in the relationship. They're not thinking, hey, how am I going to make this work? They're already blaming a woman for the failure of the relationship because she's making it too hard before he's even in a relationship. Because this group is meant to be for people who are actually single. So he's meant to be single, which I'm gathering he is from what he said. So, I thought the post was really bad. I didn't like it at all. I was surprised how many women did like it, although I've had the last word so far on that thread. And I don't have to have the last word. It doesn't matter to me. But, you know what I mean? This is quite interesting. It stopped people in their tracks. I probably wasn't expecting someone to say that because I say I'm asexual in that group, even though it's not an asexual group. But obviously, there's new people added to that group all the time. So not everyone understands that I'm asexual, know what it means, or not everyone pays attention to the posts I write occasionally, So it's just very, very interesting. But yeah, women do not deserve to be treated like sexual objects. They shouldn't be used for, purely sexual pleasure. There has to be a degree of friendship in any type of really, really quality relationship. If you don't have a foundation of friendship, it's going to be a rocky road, and I understand that women are traditionally the child bearers in life, but to me that's kind of what the genital area should be used for, if anything, is to have babies within a serious, committed, loving, healthy, happy relationship, if that's what the person wants. I don't want kids, never felt like that, but you know what I mean. I really think that predominantly should be the case for it, not for guys to just get their bits off and that's pretty much all they want women for, I think there's a lot more women these days that are independent. There's a lot more women living on their own. These days, the high quality women, there's a lot more women that can run their own life, manage themselves, manage their own, ways of doing things, and I think less and less people need another person, which is good, If you need a relationship, it's bad in the sense of being needy. But if you want a relationship because it just highlights your life or enhances your life, then that's a good thing. There's a difference between being needy because you're desperate because you're so lonely, and being comfortable in your own skin, happy with your own life as it is, but you would like that special someone there to just kind of be the icing on the cake, if you know what I mean. The asexual cake. So I do get the general impression that in the 21st century dating world, online dating particularly, more and more people are looking to just stay single. More and more people are loving the single life. Less and less people want commitment. More and more people are doing swipe culture. Seems a lot of them are just meeting up for sex. I mean, I was quite shocked. I had a guy connect with me and he was meant to be an NHS doctor. And I said to him about, have you had any dates from Facebook dating? He's like, oh yeah, I've had lots in 1 week. Because he said we said he'd been on there about a week. And I'm like, lots? And I'm like, how do you fit them all in? He's like, oh, well, my days off for in the evenings. But he's meant to be a doctor, so that doesn't make sense to me. Like, we're locked down at the moment. I mean, there's a lot of people on Facebook dating that don't care about the lockdown. They'll just drive and see someone and doesn't matter because they're after sex, obviously, and sex seems to be the most important thing to them, which is sad, really. I would never do that, And so, yeah, and I'm thinking, well, you're meant to be social distancing, but you're having all these different women. But, I deleted him off of Facebook. He friend requested me on Facebook already, and I was friends with him, and he was saying, oh, I'd like you to be my girl, which obviously when someone says something like that straight away, it's just a red flag for no. And I told him we wouldn't be suitable. And I still kept on my friends list for a little while, and then I deleted him from the Facebook dating app, and he blocked me on Facebook, which I was quite glad about. But he's changed his picture now. So I don't know if he was a fake person after all. I don't know, unless he's changed his picture because he doesn't want me saying anything to people about him, because I deleted him, and really the doctor was his picture and everything, and the other picture's fake. It's very interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting what people do after you're no longer friends with them. Oh, hi Theola, lots of love to you. So I always think it's very interesting to observe these people and these things. I'm quite glad he blocked me. I don't want to be friends with him anymore. He's clearly a sexual guy, you know. But, you know, and the fact he's meant to be a doctor and you know, like, after women and just seeing them all, it begs the question, like, why is he a doctor? Which is probably why he changed his profile picture. Because it's like, it's wrong, isn't it, really? In my opinion. So yeah, but you know, I just think it's a shame that men still treat women like objects. Oh, that guy. I don't know if it's the same guy. Yeah, I talked to so many guys, but yes, there was a doctor guy who connected with me, but he's not a good guy. So he's I removed him from Facebook dating. He's blocked me on Facebook now. I'm quite happy about that. Thanks for the thumbs up. But yeah, the reason I was doing this stream, Theola, is because I'm in a dating group, and I was talking about women being, and not good women being, sexual objects, and you know, like, I was reading this post out that was from another group. It says relationships aren't very complicated. Play with a butt, not a heart. Make his cock hard, not his life, which is disgusting language. But you know what I mean? This is what I'm saying. This guy's clearly focused around a woman's being a sex object. And, you know, guys who think that women make his life hard are not a good guy to be with, you know? Because it's basically them saying that they just expect a woman to have sex with them easily and they don't have to do any work to be in a relationship or be with a woman sexually, you know? And so they just want easy sex, you know? They don't care about the person, really. I mean, he said don't play with a butt, not a heart, but at the end of the day, it's still very centered around sex, sexual organs, and, you know, there still has to be change, you know? It's not fair for guys to always assume that every woman wants sex. That's one thing I really find difficult when I'm an asexual person dating, on Facebook dating. You know, they see women as just sexual objects all the time. Hello, Sal! Lots of love, nice to see you back again. Lovely. I remembered that you are on the asexual spectrum, actually, because you told me yesterday. You told me an aromantic, and you told me about the fictional characters. When I went off yesterday, I thought, oh, I know you're on the asexual spectrum, not just the aromantic spectrum, because you told me yesterday. So I apologise I didn't remember that partway through, but I've remembered it now. I thought, oh, if you come on again, I must say that to you. Yeah, so, you know, I just think it's very disgusting that women's bodies are still seen as sexual objects. You know, like, a lot of the time I think guys think of women as a piece of meat. Like, I get Facebook dating guys still connecting with me and they don't read my bio. The amount of guys I've had message me and they said, oh, so what's your interest then? I'm like, it's in my bio. You know, like, oh, like I said, like, I'm asexual, and they're like, oh, well, what does that actually mean? You know, it's clearly they haven't read my profile, the majority of them. There's some that don't actually speak to me after they've liked me. But it seems that most of them in Facebook dating, for example, they are just literally liking my picture. They just like pictures. You know, without actually, you know, one guy, like I said before, one guy actually admitted, oh, I don't read bios, I just like. I'm like, so you just like me on my picture? It's like, yeah, well, obviously I must have a nice face if lots of guys like me, which is great. But at the end of the day, it's always about sex, you know? Like, I've clearly put in my profile that I don't want sex, and then sometimes I get the guys going, oh, I really want sex. It's like, well, why did you even bother liking me then, you know? I think they think because I'm good looking that I automatically want sex, and that's really bad, you know? You can be really good looking, beautiful, handsome, whatever gender you are, and still not want sex, still not like it, still not need it, still not have to have it. You know, it doesn't matter what sexual orientation you are, you still don't have to have sex. And like I said, more and more women, I think, quality women in these groups, are actually waking up to the fact that so many guys are after sex these days and they just get fed up with it. And they're not even asexual when they get fed up with it. the majority of them are just like, you know, like, I'm getting on with my own life. A lot of them live on their own, so they're independent like me, and they're just like, you know, and I was talking to them about male traits, because I have some male traits, and I'm saying, you know, where's the women that like their male traits? And they're like, well, we've had to have some male traits to get through life, because when you're living on your own, a male trait is like action orientated. It's there's masculine and feminine traits. So if someone's masculine, it's very much take action, you know, put things into practice, lead, be a doer. That's supposed to be a masculine trait. So the women were saying in the group that, you know, they've, you know, when you look after yourself, when you've got your own house or household, you know, or some of them are single mums in some of the groups, you know, they've got to basically be the role of the guy, would usually be as well. They've got to like be able to fix their own things, be able to, you know, run their own life, be able to lead their own life, be able to do things for themselves, be able to do like decorating and DIY, be able to do you know, what would be traditionally gender stereotypical male roles. And you know, they have to be able to like put things into action and do stuff to get ahead in jobs, to get ahead in life, you know. And as a 21st century dating coach for asexuals, then, you know, I always talk about 21st century stuff. Like a lot of the traditional dating coaches, they are so outdated in what they say, because they talk about caveman days. It's like, wake up. It's not caveman days anymore. It's the 21st century. Although why women are still being objectified as sex objects in the 21st century is absolutely appalling, in my opinion, because things have moved on so much from then. A lot more women are independent, you know, and that should be recognised. And the qualities of women, or any gender, obviously I'm specifically you know, talking about women in this because of obviously the post I read out, and the fact I think it's still a big major issue with women in particular. Don't get me wrong, I've done videos on this channel about male abuse before and stuff like that, so it's not just women that get problems, right? But you know, it's just sad that in the 21st century more guys don't recognise that a lot more women are independent, they're very intelligent, they've got brains, you know, and there's so much to being much more to being in a relationship with someone other than their body, no matter what gender you are, you know. But the fact that women's bodies are still being objectified sexually all the time still, you know. But it's very much like, I watch a lot of music videos, right? Lots of foreign music videos, but always on the front cover usually they've got a woman that's barely got any clothes on. I don't like that, but they're doing it to get viewers, you know. And it's kind of like, ugh, do they really have to put that on there? But I guess the majority of people that listen to that type of thing probably are sexual, as I have sexual behaviour but no sexual attraction. I don't like that type of thing. But I guess, you know, some of the music's quite sexy, I guess. But I think they just do it really to attract people to click like on it, you know. It's a sales thing. But it's a shame that society hasn't changed much in all these years, you know. It's still very much like women's bodies sells. I mean, they say sex sells, but a lot of it is based on women's bodies, as we know. You don't really see men naked, hardly ever. It's always the woman, and if the woman's naked, it's usually showing her boobs off, or maybe more, with a thong up her bum, you know. Sal, I remember a girl that asked on a video if there was anything that women could do and not get shamed for. Nobody in the comments could come up with an answer. Oh, Sal, that's horrible. Oh, that's horrible. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there are going to be some women that don't mind actually being like a model and taking their clothes off. There's going to be always some women who don't actually mind doing that, who like using their body themselves as a way to make money, as a way to, you know, like express their sexuality, because not all women don't want sex. Some of them are really sexual. And so, you know, like, I think, you know, if a woman really wants to do that, if they love it, if it's really their thing, then obviously, you know, it's good for them. It's good for them, right? But I still think as a society, we shouldn't be objectifying women, and a lot of guys are like, you know, that's what their whole that's what the whole kind of thought pattern is about women. Like, oh, I want sex with her. They don't care about the personality. Like, I've got people on Facebook dating guys, and they just come on straight away. Even though I say I'm asexual, they don't read my bio. Oh, yeah, can we meet up? The fact, like, you know, when I had a guy like say, oh, when can we meet? I want to meet you. It's like, I've just like messaged you for the first time, and I don't like sex, so we wouldn't be suitable. Bye, you know. And it's like, it's just like, you know, clearly that's all they're after. It's like, why don't you just get a vibrator or a sex toy or something like that to please yourself until you find actually a quality person to be in a relationship with, and then you can carry on doing that, because I ain't interested in sex. But probably the person you're going to be with, if they're not asexual, would be fine about having sex. But do you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff they can be doing. They don't have to just like say hi to a woman and then it's like, oh, let's jump in and have sex. But, you know, I just think it's very bad if guys say comments like, you know, about a woman making their life harder, but they're quite happy to put their hands all over the woman's body and have sex with them. You know, it's like, well, you just want easy sex, basically. You want women to hand it to you on a plate, you know? And it's just wrong, you know? I would have thought by now that society would have changed and, you know, it would have got a bit more cleverer and they'd start promoting stuff like intelligent women more. But I think it's still inequality in the workplace from what I can gather in terms of pay and stuff like that. I think women in general still overall get paid less than guys. A lot of business stuff is still male orientated more. I mean, I've predominantly worked in furniture retail for most of my life in terms of the management side of things, and more than any other industry, and that is very male dominated. But, you know, one of the companies I worked for before and the current company I work for, they have got a lot of female employees in that company, which is a good thing. So, you know, it's nice to have some more equality in that way. But, you know, it's just a shame women's bodies are objectified. I wish they would stop doing that, you know, but it's all over the internet, isn't it? It's just like in adverts and billboards sometimes even. Yeah, I went past a billboard, and it was really weird. It had a Subway sandwich on one side, and then it had a pretty much semi-naked man and woman on the other side to do with eating Subway sandwich. So they were using, you know, one side just had the Subway sandwich itself, and the others with man and woman in, you know, like half scantily clad, like eating Subway, because, you know, just turn it into sexual stuff all the time. And that's very difficult for asexuals, particularly, you know, when there's so much stuff on TV. I don't watch TV, so I don't have this problem. But there's so much stuff on TV that is sexualized. I mean, I used to be a soap addict, right? And one of the things I hated when I was watching soaps is that, you know, like, it's usually sent around a bar, like a pub. I don't drink alcohol either. And, you know, it's all about, the camera angle's all about, you know, on the woman's cleavage, for example, and the fact that she's like wearing a low cut top or cut away particularly to show her boobs, you know. And it makes me very uncomfortable seeing stuff like that. I don't like seeing any type of stuff like that very much in movies and things. It kind of like detracts or distracts from the, or both detracts and distracts from the actual main storyline, I think. You know, I don't know if it's going to ever change. I guess so long as sex sells, it's never going to change. They're just going to keep doing more of it, I think, and it gets more and more raunchier. They have to get more outrageous, more scantily clad people. I mean, the good thing I do like about Facebook dating is when guys are liking it, they're liking it for my face. And I do personally think that that's nicer in that way. But actually, they could be doing it for my body, because I remembered that my profile picture just actually show the whole of me. So it's probably not true. My profile picture on Facebook dating shows not just my face, but the whole of me. Yes, I forgot about that. But some of the other pictures in there show just my face. So yes, they probably just like every bit of me. which I don't mind guys being attracted to me, but it's just like, you know, it's just like they completely ignore the fact I don't want sex. And the other thing they say is, you know, like, oh, if you don't want sex, what sexual things will you do with me? It's like, don't want sex, will stop. Don't like doing any sexual acts, will stop. Do you know what I mean? And like the other day I got someone saying, if you don't like doing sex acts, will you give me a blowjob? I'm like, no, I really won't. Oh, do you know what I mean? It's just disgusting. And it's like, you just don't get it, do you? If I don't want sex, why would I want to do stuff like that? Why? It's like, do I really want to put my head down there? I have done stuff in the past when I was in a serious committed sexual relationship years ago. I've done quite a lot of stuff, but you know, nowadays I'm just personally sex repulsed for me, and I'm just like, no. And I wouldn't be doing that with someone I've just met and a stranger and talking to them about that type of thing. It's just, I'm laughing now because I just think it's just like, are you serious? Really? Is this how you talk to women? You just come and start saying stuff like this to them? Like, no wonder you're not actually getting into a relationship, because it's just like, what woman's gonna like do that with you unless that's really what she's into, is sex herself, you know? So, but I think on Facebook dating, guys do have problems speaking to women like, because like, oh, no one reads these bios anyway, or does anyone speak? But yeah, so I just would wish that, you know, that someone would come out with a campaign, for example, of women's intelligence, and that the whole products would be promoted about how super intelligent women are, you know, and how, you know, like the qualities of women, and kind of like balance out the imbalance in how that, you know, the woman's portrayed in the media and adverts and stuff. I think it would be nice if someone actually came out and did campaigns about that, and, you know, got it kind of like women to be a bit more like recognized for their qualities and their beauties that's not sexual. You know, I think too much of society itself promotes naked women's bodies and women's bodies as sexual objects, and therefore guys are still growing up believing that type of thing. They're still growing up thinking that way. And in order to change the generations to come, we need to put some different mindsets their way, and different, you know, like different views of women forward. I think it would be really good, you know, but, you know, just make sure if you ever come across guys who are saying, oh, women make my life too difficult, it really is a reflection of them and the fact that they don't want to do any work to be in a relationship with women. They don't want to change for themselves. They think that nothing's wrong with them, and they already are a blame culture, blaming women for whatever may go wrong in the relationship before they've even got into one. It's not just true for women, it's true for any gender. If you're any person watching this right now, you're thinking about getting into a relationship, thinking about dating, thinking about seeing someone, if you ever hear someone say the words, oh, like, oh, women make my life too difficult, or guys make my life too difficult all this time, you know, like, I haven't had a long-term successful healthy relationship, you know, but I don't go around saying every guy's bad, or that, oh, I don't want to be in a relationship with a guy because they're too hard work, as a general blank statement. I just know I've had bad experiences, but those bad experiences still don't put me off completely wanting a relationship ever, and they don't put me off from doing the work it takes to get into a healthy relationship. And if you're looking for a healthy relationship, you have to work on yourself, you know, which is what I try and do. I try and work on myself a lot, you know, not perfect, got a long way to go, never be perfect, but, you know, in order to get into a healthy relationship, you have to recognize what a healthy relationship looks like. And a healthy relationship would be with someone who was very supportive of your goals, ambitions, and dreams, would be someone who can agree to disagree in a very amicable way, not someone who says, oh, well, my opinion's better, but I'll agree with you anyway. Not that type of person. That's more of a narcissistic person. A healthy relationship would be with someone who supports you, who lifts you up to achieve your dreams, who's there for you, who's there to listen to you, empathize with you, who's there to encourage you to be yourself, who accepts you for who you are, who agrees to disagree with you, because you know, you're not going to agree with everything. Like, I have very good, healthy friendships now. Now, I didn't have healthy friendships in the past, but I've got some beautiful best friends who are incredibly amazing, and we're really supportive of each other. We don't agree on things, but we agree to disagree in a very nice way, you know? It's kind of like we just either agree to not talk about it again, or agree that we've both got different opinions and we can state them, but that's it. We can't push the other person to accept what is our belief because it's not their belief, you know? And so, you know, like, for example, I've got one of my friends, they are into some BDSM stuff. I don't like it. I hate that type of thing personally, but I love them as my friend, and they are a wonderful person. And so, actually, I know two friends that do that, different bits of that, you know, but the friends, that they're beautiful souls, they're gorgeous friends, that they're beautiful souls, they're gorgeous to me, and I wouldn't be without them just because I don't like that. And I personally, you know, I personally think it's abusive, and I personally don't understand why people get pleasure through pain in that way. That's me personally, but they both get some pleasure out of doing certain things like that, and they want it, and they like it, and they seek that out. So, do you know what I mean? I have to respect the fact that they're different to me on that, and they're still beautiful, they're still amazing, they're still kind, caring. Obviously, I'm not involved in that side of their life because I'm not in a relationship with them, and I wouldn't be because they're both into guys. They're not into females. Most of my friends are into guys. Pretty much, I think all of my close friends are into guys. Yeah, I'm the wrong gender. Like, to get into a relationship, like, people are like, oh, you know, I haven't found anyone to be in a relationship with, and partly that's because I keep coming across people who are looking for guys. I got male traits, but that's not enough because they need a guy who looks like a guy, not a female who has male traits. So it's very interesting. But you know what I mean? It's this is all like having a respectful relationship. So if you're looking for being in a relationship with a healthy person and a healthy relationship, you should be looking for all these traits. Like, I know now, because I've got such fantastic friendships, the qualities I would seek in a guy for a relationship, and I've got a standard now that I know is what's needed for me to be in any healthy relationship. Obviously, because I'm in healthy friendships, that translates into relationships. And now I can spot a lot of people who wouldn't be healthy for me to be in a relationship with, who don't empathize. You know, anyone who doesn't empathize is usually narcissistic. And these are the type of people you want to avoid like the plague, because they will wreck your life. But narcissists prey on people that are empathetic. They prey on people that are sympathetic. They prey on people that are emotional, the wear their heart on the sleeve. They prey on people like me, basically. But I'm not going to change for them. You know, I try to stay away from them as much as possible. I try to cut them out of my life if I can. And unfortunately, there's always going to come across some people like this. It's surprising how many people are, you know. A guy or person should always have the ability to say, thanks for the thumbs up, lots of love. They should always have the ability to say sorry. Like, I'm not always right. I get things wrong sometimes. Like, for example, President Trump, I didn't want him to get in, but I thought because he's very clever at marketing that he would get in power again. But I'm glad he didn't, because he's not obviously very good at all, especially for the LGBT plus community. He's very bad. So I'm glad that he's not in power anymore. It's really good. And I got that wrong. And I'm glad I got it wrong. I didn't want him to be in power. Just I thought, I've actually seen him on stage years ago, before he was president many years ago, when he was talking about business. And so, you know, before I knew I was asexual, I think, yeah, before I knew I was asexual. So, you know, I just thought he's a very clever marketer, which a lot of clever marketers, they're not good because they're mind manipulators and psychology twisters, basically. But I'm glad I was wrong about that. You know, I said to my friends, I'm really glad I was wrong about that, you know. And so, you know, you need to admit these type of things. You can't go round like, you know, like I can't go around saying, I could have just left it, but I wanted to say that I was wrong because I like saying that I'm wrong. It's good to be wrong. You can't be right all the time. And when you're wrong, it makes you a better person because you can see that you've got faults and that you're just human and that you're not perfect. And if you become very self-aware, I don't know if you know what self-aware is. Self-aware is when you're fully aware of yourself, you're aware of your weaknesses, your strengths, how you operate in your mind, what's going to motivate you in the day, what's going to hold you back in the day. You become very, very conscious of yourself. I have a lot of self-awareness. So I'm very, very aware of my weaknesses. I'm very, very aware of my strengths. I'm very aware of things I could do better on. But I'm also very aware of the fact that, you know, sometimes I do have negative self-talk because I'm hard on myself, because I'm like, oh, you haven't done this yet. You haven't done that yet. Why haven't you done this yet? What are you going to do next? And it doesn't really help, the negative self-talk at all, you know? It doesn't help. And when you relax and just think, you know, like sometimes I procrastinate. I'm better at that than I was before, not procrastinating as much, but you know, I do procrastinate, and sometimes it can take me a while to make decisions. I'm better at making decisions now and quicker, but what I'll do is sometimes I'll make a decision, then I'll question if I made the right decision when I've made it, and then I'll take in, like, for example, I'll give you an example. I bought a washer dryer recently, brand new washer dryer, very lot of money. I've never spent this much on a washer dryer in my life before. And it was partly because I didn't want the same make as my old washer dryer because it didn't wash the clothes very well, left powder on them, and because I wanted a 10-kilogram drum. I've never had that big a drum. I don't want to have to go to laundrette, and I wanted to be able to wash my duvet in a washing machine without going and in the shower and trying to wash it by hand. Yep, I did try that. It was very interesting and soaked. And so, you know, with regards to that, you know, I bought this washer dryer and it's really good. It's like a very 21st century modern washer dryer, but then I got the instructions and I didn't understand it, and the people who, they did a demonstration, but the demonstration was a bit like, this is the dial and then we've set it on a cycle for you that's got to run and out the door. And I would have liked more demonstration how to actually use it, and it wasn't clear with how my particular brain works. It wasn't clear from the instructions how it worked. All they needed to say was that this is a dial which you turn for the various settings for cotton, synthetics, and, you know, drying cycles. And then you use the rest of the screen is a touch screen with multiple functions. And you have to touch the items on the screen that are lit up and then press them a number of times to get different sub menus up. So it's touch screen. I didn't realise that. And so it took me 2 weeks to understand fully how to actually use it and optimally, you know, like it was taking me, when I first started using it, 6 or 7 attempts at drying one item, you know, like 6 or 7 drying cycles. That's clearly not right. Now I can get a load done in terms of drying in two goes. And also I've got very sensitive skin, so I need to rinse the clothes, and there's no rinse cycle visible on the screen. I'm like, oh my god, I've bought the wrong machine. I've made a mistake. My decision wasn't right after all. And then I found in the touchscreen menu there is the option to rinse, and you can put it on 3 different rinse settings. So you can put it on basically 3 lots of rinses, and that does the job. But on the actual when you turn the dial bit below, it's only got a spin. It's got no separate rinsing, so it's all on the touchscreen. So you've got to pray that the touchscreen doesn't ever stop working, you know, because you won't be able to rinse your clothes out, and it's just very annoying. Obviously, a spin does rinse it out, you know, does kind of get rid of some of the suds, but you know, I really need the rinse. And so 2 weeks it took me, and then I know that I made a great decision. I'm like, yes, this is really good. I've got a 10-kilogram machine now, very much better, efficient at washing clothes, gets the clothes much cleaner. Doesn't leave any powder in there whatsoever, can dry a lot and can wash a lot at the same time. Really good machine, really happy with it, very modern, touchscreen's great, and I'm really happy with it, you know. But you know, like sometimes I make a decision and I start doubting that I've made the right decision. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know. But the majority of times, the majority of cases, I am right, but because I was brought up like to doubt myself, I guess, it makes life more difficult when you make decisions. And so if you think about like the fact I've been in relationships in the past that haven't been healthy, it's always made me feel like I don't want to get into a relationship again because I might make the wrong decision. I think everyone has that fear to a certain extent, but because I've had training now. I tried training in 2013 on how to spot abusive people in relationships. And I've known, I've learned over the years what a healthy relationship looks like, especially I've got healthy friendships. Now I know that I'm more likely to make a better decision for myself regarding a relationship partner. But I still do make mistakes, on that. But you have to understand that no one's perfect. You're going to make mistakes in life. That's how we learn. And nowadays, if I do get into a relationship with someone who's bad for me, I cut it very quickly. That's why I haven't had any long-term relationships for 9 years now, because the only guys I've seen are no good for me, and I will cut that really quickly. Now you could argue, oh, but what happens when people think, God, you were in a relationship, now you're not, what's gone on? They might judge me, but it doesn't matter if they judge you. The most important thing is you stay safe, and if you know that person's not right for you to be in a relationship with, you just cut it there and then, And so, you have to understand that people, when they write posts and stuff, they actually say a lot without saying very much, So when you're doing dating relationships, you have to look at what people are saying, what people aren't saying. You have to look for contradictions in what they've written in their bio compared to what they're telling you. You have to look for danger signals. So if the person in their profile starts saying about, oh, you have to put up with my sarcasm, or you'll have to put up with my crude jokes and stuff like that, you don't have to put up with that unless you want to be with them, right? That's your choice to accept those low qualities. Yeah, like at the end of the day, you don't want to be with someone, for example, who will start belittling you. There's some guys, going back to women again, there's some guys that will put a woman down and it will be like, oh, you're so sensitive, you're oversensitive. If you hear these words, it means the person that's telling you them is no good for you. This is belittling, this is putting you down. They may say it as a joke, but it's not. It's condescending and it's not necessary. This is a person you need to run from. This is narcissistic traits. But it's subtle, you see. People will be like, oh, he's just playing. She's just having fun. But you imagine being with a person, them saying stuff like, oh, you're oversensitive. Oh, you're, and they make you feel bad. It's a mind manipulation technique. It's a mind manipulation technique as well when guys say, a woman nags me. I don't want a woman that nags me. You see this in a profile, run. Because one, they have a problem with women to start off with if they think women nag all the time. And two, nagging, in my book, in my experience, is just a term used for when guys don't accept a woman's standards, don't accept what a woman's saying, likes to put her down, wants to dismiss what she's saying. Because if you say, oh, stop nagging, woman, it means he's dismissing what she's saying as irrelevant, not important, couldn't care less. Now, there might be some dating coaches that would think that, a woman does nag. You'll see traditional dating coaches saying, oh, I want a woman that doesn't nag. There's one dating coach who I've seen, there's one dating coach where I've seen, like, his wife, I think he's married, wife or partner, she told him that he was doing something wrong with fixing the car or something. But instead of him accepting her help or accepting what she said, it'd be like, oh, but, I'm doing it and he needs to get on and fix it. And now he was criticising the woman for being that way. But this is the 21st century, people. If a woman knows how to do something, a guy should just let her do it or do it the way the woman says if she knows what she's talking about. I have a friend and she told her partner what would be, a thing he should, she knew the answer to some DIY thing, and he was just spending hours trying to figure it out himself. And she was right in the first place, but she goes, oh, I think, can I make a suggestion? Because that's one of the best ways of saying something to someone rather than telling them, can I make a suggestion? And he did eventually listen, and she was right, and he listened in the first place. It would save her a whole lot of time. But, it's still very accepted in relationships, and very, lots of dating coaches, they kind of, are very much the guys, the traditional man, the traditional masculine man, and he's got to do that to feel wanted and needed in his caveman traditional masculine role. And I'm just thinking, this is 21st century. I couldn't personally be with a guy who was like that. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, if I can't contribute to the relationship, if I can't say something without him actually thinking, God, she's intelligent, I'll listen to what she says because it makes sense, let me give that a try, I don't want to be with him. I don't want to be with a guy who's so macho and so ego driven that it's like I've got to finish this myself or do this myself because, you know, I'm the man and I'm expected to do it. Personally, I wouldn't want to be that type of guy. There are some women that like that type of guy though, you know, but personally, I don't think this is a good thing because it's all about their ego. You know, it's not really accepting the woman's intelligence and it's just taking up their time. They're faffing around with something. It's like life is so precious. Why faff around with something for 3 hours when someone else knows the answer? But just because she's a woman, she's a gender she is, and she's traditionally meant to be feminine, the guy's meant to be the masculine, take charge, he doesn't listen to her. I personally don't like that type of relationship. I don't think it's very good. And in a lot of traditional dating scenarios and people who coach sexuals rather than me coaching asexuals, a lot of it is geared towards the woman being very feminine, the guy being very masculine roles. And I just like a 21st century approach, which is, you know, like some guys have feminine traits and they should do, and some women have male traits. You know, in my experience, a woman should have female and male traits, and a guy should have male and female traits because, or whatever gender you are, should have a mixture of both because that's how you meet in the middle. That's how you understand each other. If you've got a guy who's not empathetic at all, he's not, because empathy and sympathy and understanding and kind of like emotions are more meant to be more feminine traits, right? So if a guy is not empathetic to a woman, one, it isn't good because he's more likely to be narcissistic. But if he's not emotional at all, a woman can't relate to him. Because, you know, if he's not emotional, how has she got anything to go on? She can't relate to him. And just like, you know, a guy needs a woman to be able to take care of herself when he's not there. He needs her to be able to fix something or to be able to run her own life if he's not there. And he doesn't want to be like having to, you know, like do everything for her and her not be a unit in her own right. You know, this is to do with healthy relationships. So you need to have both traits. This is how 21st century successful relationships will go. The idea to me that guys are just completely masculine and women are completely feminine and you've got to be completely feminine or got to be completely masculine for the best relationships, to me is just such outdated information. It's such outdated information. It's very bad in my opinion. No, it's like, I don't want to be in a relationship unless I can be accepted for who I am. A loving relationship should be about the person accepts you completely for who you are. Doesn't mean to say I have to agree with everything, but you have things in common and you actually have a very caring, loving attitude towards each other and you love each other for who you are. I don't want to be worried about, oh, I'm with this guy now, but I've got to like make sure I'm feminine, so I've got to say these words and I've got to lean back and I've got to behave like this way and that way. It isn't me. Life's too short to faff around doing that type of thing, you know what I mean? You have to obviously learn tact and diplomacy and learn to understand the other person and listen to them. You've got to develop all those skills. But, you know, actually changing a lot of who you are. Like, I like the fact I got male traits. I'm not going to change that to be with a bloke because it's not who I am. It'd be like ripping part of myself away from myself, you know? So I think really, like, society needs to change in that way as well. I think society needs to recognise that female traits shouldn't just be about being at work, you know, because this is what a lot of traditional dating coaches teach. That in order to attract the right guy, you've got to be really, really feminine to attract his masculine. And therefore you'll have this amazing, wonderful relationship. But I don't want to change myself and be that type of woman when I'm not. You know what I mean? It's just not who I am. I'd rather stay single forever than be untrue to who I am. You know, like, I like the fact that I don't sit around polishing my nails and wearing much makeup ever. You'll notice the majority of the time I don't wear any makeup whatsoever. The last time I wore makeup, I believe, was when I went out clubbing before the first lockdown in the UK last year, which I think was March. Yeah, I think that's the last time I wore a bit of makeup, right? Because I don't need it. I personally, I'm confident without that. I don't think a woman's beauty should be about makeup or how much like tan stuff you can put on your face. I think true beauty is in having natural skin because you haven't plastered yourself in tons of makeup. I believe true beauty is a woman's intelligence. I believe true beauty is the heart of soul of the woman. Believe true beauty is a woman's ability to be confident in her own right without wearing loads of makeup. You know, I'm not saying never wear makeup or makeup's completely wrong, but I know some people who can't even go outside because they have to put makeup on first. They can't ever be seen without makeup because, you know, like, oh, my guy can't see me without makeup. No, I've got to put my face on. It's like, you've already got a face. It's beautiful. Why cover it up, you know? And some women are afraid of coming out of their shell and showing their beautiful face because they've been so used to putting makeup on all the time. They hide behind it as like a shield. But, you know, you have to understand that you're beautiful without makeup. Like my photographs when I've had makeup on and I've not had makeup on, my photographs where I haven't had makeup on have always got more likes from people, including guys, than the ones where I have got makeup on. Always. When I put them on Facebook, always. So I just don't need it. And also it makes you age quicker as well, usually. The more makeup you wear, the more your skin gets wrinkly and old. And it's just like, I don't want to age quickly. Thank you very much, you know? So I think, you know, women need to be looked at more in an intelligent way. I wish more guys would go for intelligent women rather than women that just will have sex with them. I mean, obviously there's still a lot of mind manipulating guys out there which will say, I really love you, but it's really just to have sex. Like, for example, there was one instance in a dating group, a non-asexual dating group, and this woman was talking and saying about the fact that she talked to this guy, I think it was through Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and he seemed to really like her. They seemed to get on well, but he wanted their first meeting to be in a hotel room. And she's like, oh, isn't that a bit strange? What do you think? And so there's various comments, and I just cut to the chase. I'm like, this guy, like, she did say that, do you think he's just after sex? I think she said that, and I said, this guy is definitely after sex. That's what he wants you. He's meeting you in a hotel room to have casual sex. So unless you want casual sex yourself, run away from this guy and just block him. That's it. End of story. You know? Like, I've learned by training myself, you know, the only way you learn to be strong in this is actually doing it. Like, I'm on Facebook dating and I'm just turning down tons of guys all the time, deleting conversations, blocking a few, you know, and this is the way it's going. But the more you do this, it's actually a very good thing because it trains you in order to turn people down, in order to be rejected yourself tons. And without feeling bad about it, just thinking, God, this is so good because I'm getting past all the wrong ones to eventually get to the right guy, you know? And I wanted to make myself stronger. I still want to make myself stronger. I want to make myself so that when I do get into a relationship, I'm not so attached to the person so that I can walk away if they become bad or narcissistic. Because unfortunately, when you've been in abusive relationships in the past, especially with narcissists, you tend to still attract those type of people. It just is the way it is. Like I told you before, I'm very self-aware and I'm very aware of these things. Usually people who've been in abusive relationships have a tendency overall to get back into abusive relationships. So you have to retrain yourself in order to spot healthy relationships and bad relationships. Obviously, romance can get in the way. Like, I'm a hyper-romantic. I try to manage that. It's something that I can't just leave to its own devices. I have to use some logic more these days. Excuse me, because, you know, I don't want to be taken advantage of. And so, although I feel romance to some guys instantly and attraction, I just have to make sure, like, this isn't a good guy, Sandra. You just need to cut him. Go on to the next. That's it. End of story, you know? Sometimes I do it really quickly. Sometimes I leave it for a couple of days to see if you message me back. But if it's someone that I know is really not good, like someone who wants sex outright, you know, that's it. I just move on. And this is the only way you get strong is by actually learning to be rejected and learning to reject people. Then you don't worry about the feelings of those people that don't actually matter, because they don't really give a toss about you. You know, all they're after is sex, or after mind manipulating you, you know, and you get through to the people who actually care. You know, like I've mentioned before about ASAP, that does unfortunately have a lot of sugar daddies and sugar mummies, spammers on there nowadays, which is a shame. But I have made a couple of good friends on that app. Even though it's a dating app, they're not suitable for me romantically. One lives in another country entirely, and I don't usually speak to him like that. And the other guy is part Indian, actually. He lives in the UK, but we're completely not suitable for a romantic relationship. We want completely different things in that way. But they're a nice person to talk to. And so, you know, like, you can spot more when there's nice people to talk to. And, you know, like I'm saying, you know, when you're on the dating scene, you don't have to cut everyone off. You could keep some people as friends. But in my experience, it's much better and safer to keep friends who are asexual. The majority of cases, in my experience, it's very difficult for you to be friends with someone who's sexual, because usually they will always have an attraction to you sexually. They will always think about being in a relationship with you. The majority of them, you know, even if they say no, they're kind of waiting in the background usually. In my experience, because I know the asexuals I know are not right for me to be in a relationship with. They usually, the majority of them, into guys. You know, I just know they're not going to get sexually attracted to me. It's a lot more healthy to begin with, you know. I find asexuals overall a lot more loyal as well. But I've got one heterosexual female friend. She's incredible. She's very loyal, very kind-hearted, very amazing person. So I've known that person longer than I've known my asexual friends for. So, you know, like, sexuals can make good friends. Obviously, it's a female. We're both attracted to guys, so there would be nothing like that there. But, you know, like, you need to be looking out for things in dating relationships. You need to be looking out for guys who are putting women down, who are making sexual suggestions, sexual innuendos, who are just looking to basically get their, you know, sex fix. And you need to be looking out for all these traits, because at the end of the day, whatever type of attraction you have for someone, that's not going to sustain a relationship. What's going to sustain a relationship is the deepest, bestest ever friendship, the deep understanding, the deep commitment in a friendship way, first and foremost, before any type of contact physically can bind you together. You know, if you like kissing, like, I mean, usually, for example, if I kissed a guy and got physical with him quickly, I do know that isn't actually a good idea. Those are the type of guys you're not really going to end up in a relationship with long term. The relationship, you know, the person you're going to end up in a relationship with long term is going to be someone who you've built up a friendship with, usually first, and you've known inside out and backwards, and who you can care for on a very deep foundational level and respect each other, you know. So, you know, I think there's still a way to go before society ever changes about women. I just think they seem to always objectify women as sexual objects, and I can't see that stopping anytime soon when it sells advertising, you know, when it sells lots of products. It's a shame, but, you know, there's not a lot we can do about it apart from, you know, like, just be beautiful women and show the beauty of us to the world as we are. And given time, maybe more and more people in society will start recognizing us for the beautiful people we are, rather than for our bodies, you know. There is people that campaign and stuff as well, you know, but I think so long as, you know, corporations and media sell stuff through sex, there's always going to be guys objectifying women. But what you don't want to do is end up getting into a relationship with someone like that. One is, if you're a sex repulsed asexual, it's going to be no good for you. And two is, you don't want to make that a foundation of a relationship, because it's always going to be rocky, because unless you give them sex, you know, they're not really going to stick around usually. So, you know, like, try and get someone who's respectful. Like, even guys who are sexual, good guys who are sexual, they won't make the first and foremost thing about the relationship about sex. It will be more getting to know you, more understanding you, understanding what makes you tick, understanding what makes you happy, what makes you sad, understand what makes you feel alive. They will support you in your dreams and they will lift you up, you know. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. I've just gone over the hour. It's an absolute pleasure to see you as always. I want to thank Viola and Eddie and Sal for being in the live stream chat tonight. I want to thank everyone else that's watching. And thank you for the thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to hit the great big subscribe button and hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now posting video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. I'll see you on the next video live stream. Until next time, embrace your quirky, always stay ace, and now I love you loads for the beauty you are. Take care and I'll see you soon. Lots of love. Bye everyone. Bye. Thanks for the thumbs up.